All right, all right, all right. We're going live. We're live. What's with my guy Burton? What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. I can't complain. I woke up breathing today. I'm here. I'm on your platform. I mean, it can't get
That's
any
right.
better than this, man.
Investor Thrive. That's the platform, and I appreciate
What's
you coming
up, man?
on. Like I was telling you earlier, I'm not some giant guy, but I'm trying to help out my community, and I use Propstream, and I know how powerful it is for what I use it for, and that's comping deals. So I've always thought to myself, without having to jump in and train and watch all the videos, like I'd love for someone to just show me like the good stuff, right? So when I met you last week, I was like, man, this would be great because not only will I get educated, but you can help our viewers out.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. And it was an honor meeting you at the event last week. I mean, to me, that's if you guys aren't going to events, man, you got to. This is where
Yeah.
you meet great people, where your business potentially can grow from the inside out type of deal, and just the knowledge that's shared from one person to the next. Again, here we are, right? so
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. Yeah.
Well, hey man, and another shout out. You hooked it up with this shirt, Propstream. I love data. That was cool. What did you think of that event? That was a pretty wild event, wasn't it?
It was pretty wild. I
That
mean, you
was
had big
crazy.
names there. You had a bunch of folks that were new and first time being exposed to the industry. Lots of very well dressed individuals.
Hmm.
I wasn't one of them, obviously, but
Right.
no, I think the event did its thing. I think
Yeah.
for what its aim was for the it was that Latin community. I think it did extremely well, and
Mm. They,
I saw a
they know
lot
how
of
to
happy
party.
faces.
They know how to party, don't they?
Absolutely, man. That thing was banging, man, if to say the least. But no, to be able to have a party and understand, real estate education blended perfectly together like that. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the next one, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
For sure, for sure. Well, guys, if you're tuning in or you're gonna tune in halfway, you can ask questions in the live stream, and I can just stop, interrupt Burton, and just politely just say, "Hey, I think someone has a question." He is going to come in and show us the truth, the way of PropStream, how to use it, how to crush it, how to help it use it. Even if you're not in wholesaling, I mean, you told me at the event, many other companies use this, so it doesn't just have to be a wholesaler, right? Like this is
Oh,
data.
100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, when it comes to the wholesaling industry, that's a very sociable industry, right? You got a lot of people on
Mhm.
social media. So yeah, a lot of people are under the misconception that we're just like a wholesale product, and we're going to take care of wholesalers, absolutely. But our business has always been about real estate data. And who needs real estate data? Well, just think of all the professions in real estate, from title companies to lenders to contractors to wholesalers and fix and flippers and people that do short sales and people that buy banknotes, and yeah, the list goes on. So you nailed it right on the head. I mean, our product is designed for everybody in that real estate space. How you manipulate our data dictates how you're going to be utilizing it, right? And so
100%.
again, if you're uh if you do solar panels, you're probably going to want to look for certain areas or look for properties that were built prior to having solar panels as a
Mhm.
regulatory thing, right? So these are things that PropStream can help you with, real estate data. And thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, yeah, let's just hop right into it. I know I have some specific questions that we can get to maybe later, but I think you're just gonna give us a good overview, let us know some cool stuff. I know everybody that's watching wants to know how can PropStream help me get deals. That's like everybody you're gonna want to know, right?
Absolutely. So let's start there. I mean, first thing I like to do is give you my quick elevator pitch because I know there's still some of you guys watching right now that are like, man, I keep hearing PropStream. I've seen this guy's face before. Nathan brings it up all the time. But what does PropStream do and what can it do for, jump starting my real estate business or taking my business to the next level? Well, let's start there.
Right.
So PropStream, what we do and what we do very well at are these two things. And I'm going to share my screen for you guys and share a PowerPoint with you.
All right.
So the two things that we do very well at is right here. We do very, very well at lead generation and extremely well at analyzing a property. So let's talk about those two first, right? So I'm a firm believer that everybody needs to do lead generation. Now, in the past, what that meant was you had to go to a source and grab data, right? A list of data, usually at the county, take it back to your office and then like refine it, right? Because you're not going to just call
Exactly.
50,000 records. That was not going to work out in your favor. Some did, some didn't, right? Now, that's part one. In Propstream, you can build a list. So we're just mimicking what you investors were doing since day one. Go grab a list. So build a list in Propstream. Now, because of technology and because of society ever evolving, and because 9 out of 10 people have one of these, I would probably say 10 and 10 in our society,
Yeah.
in skip trace and PropStream. So you can actually within PropStream get phone numbers, emails, landlines, and so forth. So again, we're good at data that we're not just collecting real estate data, we're collecting homeowner data, mortgage data, contact information data. That's where part two comes in. And why is this powerful? Take a look at your gas stations prices for the last week. They've been increasing. So again, in the past, you had to go drive to properties and knock on doors, or you had to craft postcards and send them out and wait 2, 3 weeks for the homeowner to maybe call you back. Right
Right.
today, I can build a list and skip trace and get a phone number and email. And about 15 minutes after building that list, I can call and speak to a homeowner about selling their property to me. Right. That's the
Mm.
power of
That quick.
technology. And exactly, Nathan. You nailed it right in the head. And that to me, that's why I don't want to you guys say, oh, skip trade. No, this is revolutionary to our industry. It's what made people, from getting deals in 2 weeks to getting deals in about 15 minutes after that
When
phone
did you
call.
add the skip trace feature? Because I feel like when I started a couple years ago, we would pull the list from PropStream and then skip trace and lead Sherpa or a different service. But
Yeah,
were you
yeah.
always able to skip
We
trace?
introduced it back in 2016 when
Oh,
PropStream
okay.
2.0 came out. So when we went web based is when that skip tracing embedded itself into our system.
Cool. Maybe I just
And ever
didn't know
since
about it.
then,
Yeah.
it's and again, I mean, when you think PropStream, you're not thinking skip tracing, you're not thinking
Right.
marketing. Usually, you're thinking data, and that's our
Mhm.
goal. Is we want you to know that we're the strongest out there when it comes to data, but we're not ignoring the fact that there are some elements that you guys might need. In this case, contact information, which is again optional. Skip tracing is optional. You don't have to do it if you want. As that Nathan mentioned, build a list and take it elsewhere for skip tracing. Feel free. Again, we're very open minded to that. But for those that do want to skip trace, a few extra pennies, 12 cents is our cost if you get results. If you get no results, we won't charge you the 12 cents. But it's
That's
12
good.
cents
That's a
to
good
get
price.
results. And we even have added new logic to it where we put the most recent and most used number first. So you'll get the most recent, most used number first. And another layer of benefit for you guys at no additional cost, we're scrubbing that list for you on the DNC. So we even tell you which numbers have been are flagged on the DNC. And whether you call them or not, I'll leave that up to you guys. But we're going to do our best to give you the most accurate and most used phone, right? Most actively used phone, as well as making sure you know who's on the DNC and not.
Yes, I got a
Three,
question. So, sorry, is it
yeah,
okay if I ask you a question? So, a
of
lot of
course,
people
of
I
course.
talk to, they're like, "Yeah, where's that data coming from?" Like, they know a lot about data. I don't know like a ton about like where skip tracing data is coming from. But do you kind of know where like you guys are getting your source of your skip tracing?
Yeah, well, I can't give names out, obviously, but
That's fine.
enough research. If you go in there and you go use YouTube or Google and you type, top skip tracing providers in the real estate space,
Hmm.
you're going to find some of the vendors that we use. Again, we've been doing this long enough that we understand that there are other industries that collect contact information, and we've built strong relationship with them. And that's the reason I can't give out names is because
Yeah.
the moment I give out a name, if you have the same account with them, you're going to realize that our prices are going to be way, way better than yours, right? And so
Yeah.
you're going to have this exodus of their customers saying, "Hey, why is PropStream prices cheaper?" Right? And
Right. And it's
the
the
answer
volume you
there
guys
is
provide
volume.
too.
Exactly. You nailed it on the head. The answer there is because we do so much volume, we get that price. But again, we deal with about I think 5, maybe 6+ vendors now when it comes to skip tracing, and we buy redundant data. So we'll buy all of their data. So even if we
Mhm.
buy the same address 15 times, or we get the same number from every vendor, it doesn't matter. That lets us know, hey, we're all on the right track, right?
Yeah.
So we buy redundant data. We buy from the top 5, 6 now providers out there in the skip tracing space. And then we added our additional logic, which is once we get the results, we'll put it in that fashion of most used, most frequently, and most recently used number first. And then we also scrub it. So it goes through like 3 hygiene process. Get the results, then we tell you which is most used and frequent, and then we give you the DNC numbers along with that, all for 12 cents.
That's good, man. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Cool. That's what we use. We use that. So
Oh, smart. Marketing. So let's talk about that. Not for everybody, but it's there. So you can build a list like an auctions list. You can get their phone numbers and emails, like we talked about. And marketing. Our marketing system will let you get a free landing page. So you get a website that you get to create for your list. So if it is an auctions list, your landing page might say something like, I'll buy your house before it goes up for auction. If your list is a senior owner list and you skip trace it, your landing page might say, I can help you retire into your dream house or something like that, right? So the landing page is designed to kind of speak to that audience specifically.
wow.
And after you create that landing page, you can then send out postcards and emails. And here's the kicker. You can do this over and over again, right? We don't want you to stop after you build your first list. So if you do senior owners, skip trace it, I can help you retire, postcard emails, go back to our search page and build another list and skip trace that list. And then this time set up another website, right? So like your next list could be a cash buyers list. So buyers list, skip trace it. Your website would probably say, hey, cash buyers, I have a contract for you. Call me now. And then you send them postcards and emails as well.
That's wild.
That's
So
our
you
lead
guys,
generation.
through the Propstream service, I can create a online landing page.
That's correct. There's even an
No idea.
application in there that they can fill out. When I say they have leads, the leads
Yeah.
can fill out. And if they fill out that application, it goes straight to your email.
That's awesome. And that's not any extra in the $100 a month?
No. The campaign is part of your monthly subscription. What is additional would be the skip tracing, which is 12 cents or
Right,
10
right.
cents, depending on your package, and postcards and emails. Those would be additional. But that
I
landing
didn't
page,
I gotta
no
try
additional.
that. I had no idea that you could make landing pages with Propstream.
Yeah, really
Cool.
clever. I've seen some funny landing pages out there. I saw someone create they save their own property, just to get a kicker there. So they save their own property to a list, and then they started a campaign with their own property. And I'm thinking, what are they going to sell? They're going to send themselves a postcard or something?
Right.
That make no sense. But get a load of this. They started a campaign with their own address just so they can create a landing page. And you know what the
Wow.
landing page was for? Their
What?
kid's birthday party. I thought that was clever. They used
Whoa.
Propstream to create a birthday party landing page. They could have gone to a website and paid for that, but they
Yeah.
said, "Nah, I got to use Propstream." And all they did was, again, save their own property onto a list and use that
Wow.
to start the campaign, and then just change that website to what they needed it to say. And
Yeah,
I
man,
thought that was
my mind's a little
brilliant.
blown with that. So you're gonna have to
Right.
show you're gonna have to show
I'll
me
show
how to
you
do
that
that.
in a few moments. I'll show you that in a few moments.
Yeah,
That to
cool.
me was very clever. And so I was sitting thinking, man, I could do this for my beer pong parties or something like
Yeah,
that.
for
Right.
real. We
But
could do it for
these
the next wholesale sharks meetup we go to or any
Hey, there
event we
we
do.
go. I love that. I love that. So that's our lead generation part. And so let's start there before we jump into that second part, which is, what happens when they call you back, which is what we do best as well, what we do really good at as well, which is analyzing a property. But let's talk about lead generation, because that's the hot topic right now, right?
Of course.
Lots of investors are in the market. I hear my market's oversaturated. Oh, there's not enough leads. That's just simply not true. So let's go into Propstream and show you how you can do just that. So let's start with searching. Before you get into searching, just know that your toolbar is on the left-hand side, and we start you on the search page because part one, you got to build a list. You got to do that on a search page, right? So hence you're on the search page. Now, search bar, 4 different searches that you can perform. Let's go over them. The first one is by county. So you type in the name of the county, and what we will do is we will give you our results in that county. So for this county, Broward County, Florida, it's telling me Burton, Propstream has 700,000 records you can go through. And I can go through them 50 per page if I wanted to. So we're on page 1 of 15,000, as you can see here. It's a lot. And I don't recommend anybody going through them one at a time. But if you want, don't let me stop you. Now, to make life a little bit easier for you, we're going to take those records and categorize them for you. So if you want to see the MLS, you can click on that and see the MLS, the pre-foreclosure, and so forth and so forth. Now let's address the first thing out of the bag. One of the most common questions I get is, how frequent is your data? When do you guys update, right? So I would ask that. I mean, I'm a consumer too. I would. That's like first thing I would ask. So
Yeah.
let me just tell you the reality, right? We update every 24 hours, but there's a big but, right? I'm saying that because we collect data at a nationwide level, right? So I don't know where you're at. See, a lot of the users like that ask me this question, or I'm out and about, and someone asks me, "Hey, how frequent is your data?" What they're really asking is how frequently is your data in my market that I'm in, right? But they don't
Right.
say it that way. They say how frequently is your data, or when do you do your updates? And when you ask me that question, it's very general. So I'm going to reply back with, "Well, we update every 24 hours." Because
Yeah.
the reality is California can do an update yesterday, Oklahoma can do an update today, Texas tomorrow, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, we do update every 24 hours, but that doesn't mean your county updates every 24 hours, right? So,
Right.
let me show you how you can find the frequency. Not too many people know about this.
Yeah, man.
So,
I don't know about this.
exactly. So there you go. So if you pull up a market, let's say I'm in Broward County, Florida. I'm from Orange County, California, by the way, but I'm in Florida now. And I wanted to know, hey, how frequently is Propstream's data in Broward County? Here's the first thing I'm going to show you. Look at your results on the right-hand side. And a lot of people don't know, but there's 3 ways to view your results. The first way is what you're seeing, and that's called pick view. Shows you a picture if there's one available, the address, a description. There's list view, gets rid of the picture, address, description, right? And last but certainly not least, one that no one really even uses is the spreadsheet view. It's right here. Click on that. You have now the spreadsheet view. And I love this because, again, it shows you a lot more information than what we saw in the first two views. Now, the column that you want to resonate with, if you want to know frequency in your market, is this one right here that says last updated.
Oh,
So
okay.
here's how it works. If I'm in Broward County, Florida, and I wanted to know when PropStream last updated, their MLS data, I'm going to click on that MLS box. So I only see just the MLS records in PropStream. And then once I do that, I'm going to click on the spreadsheet view. And once I get that spreadsheet view, I'm going to look for last updated, and I'm going to click on that twice. Clicking on it twice puts the most recent record at the top and the oldest at the very bottom. And so when we do that, we discover that the MLS data in Broward County was last updated 3 days ago on the 28th.
That's
And
sweet.
why is that important? Is because data is not the same in one county and the next. So if I go to like Riley, North Carolina, a whole different state, a whole different city, and I do the same thing, click on that MLS, go here and view it, the date might be either the same, which it looks like it is, great, or it could be different, it could be a week ago. But also to note, MLS is not pre-foreclosure data, right? These different boxes are from different vendors, different data collectors. So although the MLS in Riley, North Carolina was updated on the 28th, that doesn't mean the pre-foreclosure was. And so if I click on pre-foreclosures and I click on this tab, I then can see the last updated record and see when their last updated record was. And so click on it twice, most recent first, oldest down, the 22nd, right?
Yep.
And here's the thing, if you're good at this, you're curious like I am, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would start scrolling down and looking at the next date. So the 22nd was their update. Then they had one the 18th and on the 17th and on the 15th, right? You might be able to catch a pattern. Oh, they're doing it every Wednesday. Oh, they're doing it every 2 weeks or every
Nice.
right. So that's why I want to highlight this. Again, this is not used often. This is what I call the spreadsheet view. And I definitely encourage you guys to utilize that a little bit more than
Didn't
normal.
know about the spreadsheet view.
Thank you, my brother, for admitting that.
That's
As a matter of fact,
that's
let me show you
sweet.
a cool trick with it. I always get people that say, how do I know if my market's a hot market? How do I know where in my market is a hot market? I've been
Yeah.
told follow the money. We've always heard that statement before. So guess how that spreadsheet view can help me? Click on
Okay.
cash buyers, just see the cash buyers in this city. Click on spreadsheet view in this city. And then after I click on spreadsheet view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the zip code. I'm going to break this city up by zip code, but break it up into cash transaction records. So now I can see which cash transactions, which zip code had the most cash transactions. Like 27502 only had one. That's probably not a hot market right now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm talking about? So as you scroll down, you're going to see that zip code that's just standing out.
601.
27601. Boom, 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 boom. So this is where you should be doubling down your investments, essentially, is what this is saying. So, spreadsheet view, take advantage of it. Okay. So, county, city, you can search a zip code. So, we can type in a zip code here, like 27601, we just saw. So, we'll punch that in here. Pardon my lag here, guys. 27601. I have some pop-ups here that are causing that, so pardon
Yeah,
me.
you're good. It's all for me. I mean, I always feel like I have good internet, so whenever it goes slow, I'm like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. All right. So again, you can do zip code here. The one thing to note, however, when it comes to the zip code search, a lot of people again don't know this, but you can do up to 5 zip codes. You can't do 5 cities, you can't do 5 counties, but zip codes you can do 5. How do you do that? You separate them with commas and spaces. And it doesn't even have to be in the same market. If you wanted to search, let's say, Raleigh, North Carolina, and then Beverly Hills, 90210, punch in those 2 zip codes, and then you'll get the drop down menu. Again, you can have up to 5, but once you have your 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 zip codes, then we'll give you the database to those 2 markets. In this case, it's going to zoom
Wow.
out
So 2
and
different
it's going to show
markets.
me, yeah, it's going to show me the Florida market I just searched and then the California market I just searched at the same time. Right. But
That's
only can
awesome.
be done with zip codes. You
And you're
can't
saying
do
5 max. 5
5
max?
max. Yeah.
Okay.
5 max.
So
The
if there are multiple
last
markets, you can hit, 5 different markets at once
Right,
there.
or like that cache thing that I just showed you, right? As you're going through that, right? The 5 zip codes that have the most transactions, and then search those 5 zip codes.
So with the cash buyers that you pulled, that's not always like an investor, correct? Like it could be someone that just paid cash for a home.
Well, yeah, well, there are 2 types of cash transactions that we have. So, or cash transactions in general. There's the cash transaction where, like you mentioned, I'm going to live in that house, so I'm going to buy it in cash and I'm going to move in there, right? The cash buyers, so our records, we added some extra layer to that. We made sure that every cash buyer that you see in this result are non-owner occupied properties.
Oh,
So they bought it in cash, but they're not living in it, right? It's their second
so
or third
those
purchase.
should be investors then.
That's the idea, but again, there could be that one dude or girl that just has that much money that, yeah, that's their home. They're not letting anybody live in there. They're not renting it out. They just had to buy it for tax purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's
but
extremely
the
helpful to
idea
know.
is
Yeah.
that's a rare scenario. So I would say 99.9% that's most likely an investor.
That's awesome because I always thought like you were dabbling with people who were just like maybe had money and in the Midwest you can buy a house for cash and live in it like that it's not that it wouldn't be that hard, right? Because there's the properties
Right.
are cheaper.
Exactly.
Yeah. But now
And
that
as a
you're
matter of
saying that,
fact,
go ahead.
oh no, 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 go ahead. Continue your thought.
Oh no, I was just saying that now that I know that you separate it by if they're owner occupied, that's huge. That's awesome.
Very, very. As a matter of fact, I've had users that try to do that. They'll pull up a market, they'll go to our filter, and then they'll choose cash buyers. So they'll say, okay, I want your cash buyers, but I'm interested in the owner occupied one. So they'll actually click cash buyers. And then after they click on cash buyers, what they'll do is they'll hit owner occupied. But remember, our logic is non owner occupied. So the
Mm.
moment that you hit owner occupied, our system will say no results found for you. So here on the
Oh
right hand
yeah.
side, it'll say, sorry, no results found because our logic is it has to be non owner occupied. That's our
Awesome.
category for not cash buyers. Now, there are some data providers that don't do that. They'll just give you all the cash transactions and you got to figure out the hard way, which is
Yeah.
an investor and which isn't.
Great.
So we've done
Great.
that additional
So
work for them.
for new people who are trying to grow their buyers list, they can look for the flippers tab in the filter, and they can do it by cash buyers, and then call those buyers and say, "Hey, I got a property in your area," and find a buyer that way.
That's correct. Yeah, and for those, since Nathan brought it up, for those that don't know what flippers are, again, Propstream is really good at data. Because we have MLS data and public record data, what we're doing here is we're finding someone who bought the property and it was obviously recorded at the county, right? So they bought the property first, And then we discovered what we're doing is we're putting a time limit. If after they bought the property, if they list the property, so if they call an agent in less than 2 years after buying that property, that's a flipper. Because why would you buy a property and then sell it in less than 2 years, right? Now, don't get me wrong, there are people that are doing that, but the people that most likely are doing that are your fix and flippers. They buy a house, it takes about 2 years to do the rehab, and then they sell it. Now, granted, some of these guys do it in 3 months, 6 months, but we put a 2 year time limit. Why? Because hard money loans. The longest hard money loan out there I've seen is 2 years, 24 months, and then it balloons on you, right? So we decided, hey, if someone's buying a house and it's listed in less than 2 years, that's most likely a flipper, and that's what this category represents.
That's awesome. I mean, to everyone that's watching or will watch this, if you struggle with finding buyers, it's pretty much all you need. Pull the list, call it.
There you go. Yeah. All right. The last search that not too many people are utilizing is our draw search feature here at the top left. Prior to using that, I go from satellite to map view. And then from there, you can zoom into an area. It's not designed to search the whole market. It's designed to search smaller pockets. So you'll click on that, and through a series of left clicks, you'll be able to create your own shape and hit enter and get the results in that shaded area. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this is because it can be used very effectively with our heat map. So our heat map, if you go back to satellite here, our heat map is actually at the upper right-hand side of the map. And there are 4 categories. It's called analytics, but basically it's our heat map. You can see estimated values, MLS stats, price growth, or rental values. Now, nothing's happening because you have to actually click on a category. So as you can see here, red represents all the $1 million properties, light blue, all the properties with 100 or less.
That's so cool.
Price growth. You see properties that grew over the last year. And we can see what pockets have taken near 100% growth over the last year. And last but not least, rental values.
Okay, in order to get that to show, you have to drop down and pick one of the
subcategories. Correct. So if you just click on that, no subcategory, nothing will happen.
So if you, that's really useful for rentals too. If you're like, hey, where should I buy a rental? Like, where is the rent really high?
Yeah. Or you might have a buyer that's like, hey, I need property that's going to rent for 500 or more. You can use that rental value. Or hey, I get an investor. I need to be in a hot market right now before I give you money. All right, let's look for the market over the last year. Here it is. Draw search feature. Several left clicks later, I have that hot market based on data.
That's sweet.
Oh, sorry, horrible design right there, but you guys get the idea. All right. Perfect. Now let's talk about filtering. This is my favorite topic.
Yeah, man. The filters, I'm a little lost on those filters. So let's see.
So there are actually 2 ways to build leads in Propstream. And here, let me bring up the PowerPoint really quick to easily explain that. Here we go, right here. So the 2 ways to build leads in Propstream are the following. The first way I call the traditional search, because everybody's doing this. Like, there's nobody not doing this in our space. And the way that this goes is that you pick a list, then you make sure it's off market unless you're going to buy it through an agent. And then you apply equity unless you know how to do something special like short sales or sub twos or creative seller financing, right? So if you don't, then you got to make sure you have equity. And then the fourth is your property and owner characteristics. So if we were in Propstream, it would go just like this. Like, I would pull up a market. Let's Nathan, give me a market, just a random one.
Yeah, do Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where we're at.
Salt Lake City. Okay, so you pull up a market, Salt Lake City, Utah. After you pull up that market, you're going to go straight into our filter. Right? So now we're in our filter. And what we're going to be doing in our filter is we're going to be manipulating the 149 records that Propstream has. Now, again, the standard, the habit that we're all used to is after we get that market pulled up, we're going to go under quick list choices and choose a list.
Right. The easiest one, easiest to do, right?
And a lot of people will ask, Burton, what's the best list to choose from, right? I don't really have an answer for that. So actually, maybe this might help here. Let me pull up what I call my motivation chart. This should definitely help out with
Oh, yeah.
explaining things a little bit for you guys. So here we go. So this right here is what I call my motivation chart. And just understand that you're talking to someone on the other line, right? You're not talking to a list, you're talking to somebody. And that
Yeah.
somebody is in one of these three stages of home ownership. They're either good, which is leave me alone and we're not selling you the house. Uh-oh, they'll probably conversate with you, but they probably won't sign anything right away. And then needs help. Like they're gonna need your help. If the price is right, they'll probably sign right then and there.
Yeah.
So if we took the list that we have and categorize them, this is how I would put them in. Your cash buyers would be here, your high equity, your flippers. And you don't normally call those guys for discounts. Like, let me give you an idea. If Nathan just bought a house for $500,000 in cash, and I pull that cash buyers list and I see Nathan paid that property $500,000 in cash, for me to call Nathan and say, Nathan, I want to buy that property you bought in cash for 420 in cash,
Mhm.
Nathan will hang up. It makes no sense to Nathan,
Sure,
right?
yeah. I've known
But if
most.
Nathan is a cash buyer who then filed for bankruptcy or went into a divorce or his houses are vacant, well, that's a scenario, right? Uh-oh. I mean, he's still good. He could get a tenant to rent it out. He could, solve that divorce. He can pay off his dues, and then he's not in a uh-oh. He actually goes from uh-oh back to good, right? But uh-oh is not to be dismissed because uh-oh can turn into I need your help now, right? That bankruptcy means you didn't pay your mortgages. Now you're in auction. Now you're in pre-foreclosure. So there is no good list. If you're sitting there thinking, I need to find that perfect list,
Mhm.
there isn't. Don't. You're going to be wasting time. So, what you need to understand is that just like any successful investment business, you're going to need to be in most of these categories, right? You're going to need to market
Yeah.
to the pre foreclosures. You're going to need to market to the liens, to the landlords, etc. Now, there are some pros and cons. Like for the need help, yeah, you're going to get big discounts for sure. Faster closing because you got to work against that time, but it is very competitive. You're going
Yep.
to get every investor calling that pre foreclosure, right?
True.
Uh-oh, that's gonna take a little bit longer. Someone that missed their tax payment, right? They're not in pre-foreclosure yet. Sometimes that takes 3 years for that to happen.
You
So they
can,
have
yeah.
3 years to tell you no for a while, right? Right? Some markets could take a year, some markets take 2 years, but a tax delinquency is not an auction. It usually goes delinquency and then they file the tax lien and then the lien turns into pre-foreclosure. So you still have many steps before there, right? So I would say a tax delinquency is right here. You call, they're going to cuss you out. Get
Yeah.
used to it. Follow up. They might not cuss you out. They might be a little bit nicer this time because you caught them on a bad day the other time. Third time, they know you by name. Still not going to do anything, but you provide them more resources to help them get out of their situation. Hopefully, they follow through with those resources. They don't. Fourth follow up, they're getting notifications that they're going to be going into pre foreclosure. Contract is signed. That's how it works, right? Now, what happens if you do follow up 4 times, right? And then they do go into pre-foreclosure. Well, guess what? You're going to stick out like a sore thumb. You know why? Because then everybody's going to start calling them and they're going to know that you've been truthful with them and you've been genuine and you've been there since the beginning.
I've been here. I've been with you holding your hand through this process. It's time for me to sell the house.
I warned you about this. I warned you that everybody's going to call you and lowball you,
Yep.
right?
That's crazy.
So
This is a great chart. This is awesome.
thank you so
And
much.
helps.
So yeah, this hopefully will embed that this is not a real estate investing is not a trial period. It's a life career. Like you're in here for the long run. And understand some of these deals could take 2 years, but
Yeah.
it's worth it because you're going to solve problems and I hope the paycheck will be worth it as well. Hey, sometimes I've seen people not make money, but the fulfillment of helping someone is worth it at the end of the day. So
Mhm.
just know that. All
Yeah.
right. So the traditional search, right now that you know what the motivation chart is, and again, let's show you the traditional search. It's pick a list, off market equity, and your property and owner characteristics. So if I was in Salt Lake City, it would look like this. Salt Lake City, 140,000 records. I want to find those tax delinquency that Burton was just showing me, right? And then it's going to show you those tax delinquencies. There's 3,681 of them. Great. What do we do next? Make sure it's off market. So MLS status. These are our additional filters on the left-hand side over here. But I'm clicking on MLS status because that's the next important thing. We got to make sure it's not on market. So look at that as a question. On market? Yes. Or no, I don't want anything on market. I don't want those 5 properties on
Right.
market. So you're going to hit no. Then you're done. Third, equity. Again, depending on what you know, how seasoned you are, may dictate whether you need equity or don't need equity. But if you're new, trust me, you're going to need equity.
Yeah.
So estimated equity by percentage or dollar amount. Percentage is the more popular one. So here you can do like 30%, 40%, 50%. The higher, the better. So we'll do 50% here. And last but certainly not least, when it comes to the traditional search, are the property and owner characteristics. So here we can say, hey, I'd like to look for property characteristics are going to be residential or commercial or office, and we can grow with you. Not only residential, but it needs to be a single family or a bungalow or condominium or duplex or any of the residential options.
You're right.
Single family is probably what most of us are doing. And don't forget the other property characteristics, like this property needs to be under 5 bedrooms. Property needs to be built before 2000 because I'm not trying to wholesale something that was built last month, right? It's not
Right.
going to pretty much work out. They're going to want full price. So, property characteristics to help you out. And let's not forget the second part of part 4, the owner characteristics. And
That's a
so
good
that
list
breaks
already. It's not even that many people. You could go through that in a day.
exactly. And again, depending on the user, whether you're, maybe like me, you're on a tight budget,
Hmm.
you might need to reduce it even more. But we all know this is a numbers game, right? Hopefully. And this
Right.
is why Propstream provides you 10,000 records every month. So even this right here is barely scratching the surface of the amount of records that you have. But owner characteristics. So now I get to decide I want a tax delinquent owner that's in their property. So owner occupied, yes. Or most of you guys like absentee owners. So no, I don't want the owner there. I want them not in the house. I want them not, obviously not paying their bills.
Yeah, it
So
looks like
you can
most
do
of them
that
are,
as well.
live in their house.
Exactly. Because the reality is, I mean, someone who doesn't own their property is probably an investor, right? Or doesn't live in their property, like we just talked about, the cash buyers.
Right.
So a person who has a second or third or fourth home probably is not going to be delinquent too often because they have cash flow. The
Yeah.
only time I could see that they're delinquent is maybe because they have so many properties, they forgot that that property needed to have their tax paid on time, right?
Yeah.
That's probably what these 22 people are. You call them like, oh, yeah, we forgot to pay our taxes on time because I have 15 properties. Sorry, first world problems, right?
Yeah.
But as Nathan pointed out, most people that are in delinquency are people that are living in their house. They're living in their house, they're paying that mortgage, and then life happens, lost money, or had to pay for medical things or whatever, and that tax bill comes in and they can't pay it, right? And that's usually why you'll see more owner-occupied tax delinquencies versus non-owner occupied tax delinquent properties. Just an FYI there. Occupancy status. This is important. This means whether they're answering their mail occupied or not answering their mail, right? Because you can have someone living in the house, at least that's what the county says, but the mail carrier cannot get that mail delivered. So here are your 51 properties that the owners are supposed to be living there. The mail hasn't been answered recently,
Snap. I
and
thought
they're
I
delinquent.
honestly thought owner occupied was the exact same thing as occupancy status. I didn't know it was different.
Mm. No, no, this means whether they're answering their mail or not. So let's think about this story. The county says that they're supposed to be there. The mail
Yeah.
carrier can't get that mail. Do you think knocking on a door or sending a postcard is going to help us with this one?
No.
No, you got to skip trace this one. This is probably the best way to do it, right?
That's awesome.
Now, if we did a different, let's talk about just for the sake of explaining these two filters here. Let's say we looked at a high equity list and we did non-owner occupied. Again, non-owner occupied means the owner is not there, right?
Mhm.
But that house could be rented out. So owner's not there, but it's occupied by a tenant, right? Or I want the owner not there and I don't want anybody there. So I want non-owner occupied and completely vacant as well, right? So these
Mm.
two filters can dramatically change the story. So Nathan, I'm
Snap.
happy that you're bringing that up to bringing that up to light.
For sure.
All right, let's go back to tax
So real quick,
delinquency.
the high equity quick list, what is that? What is that? 50%, 20, 30%?
50% or more.
Okay.
It's two things. It's 50% or more in equity or a minimum 100,000 or more in equity.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So we're going to look for tax delinquencies. Owners are there. They're not answering their mail or they're answering the mail. We'll leave them both in there because that's still a good list. But we're not done with ownership info. There's still some more characteristics we can add, and that is going to be in our ownership info section. So years of ownership, owner type, last sell date, last sell price, how many other properties they owned, the taxes they pay, their location, are they passed away or did someone pass away? or did they transfer the property? So this area, the best practices here, definitely years of ownership. Again, if someone just bought a property a month ago, they're not going to sell you the property, right? So
Right.
definitely want to make sure you put a minimum here. It could be 7 years, it could be 10 years. Every market is different. So we'll do 10 years here. And then owner type. Now, you probably want to stick with individuals to start with, but that doesn't mean you can't do corporations. Just know that corporation means you're going to be talking to more than one person because you got to get to
Mhm.
the decision maker.
And the corporate
So
is LLCs, right? The LLCs.
LLCs, S corps, banks as well will be included in there.
Okay.
Mix means individual and corporate own that building. So it could be like Burton, and then Burton's company owns the company, the building, tax write-off issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And trusts, properties owned by a trust. So best practices here, honestly, adding years of ownership. And then I see most of our users, especially new ones, go after individuals. That way, when you call, you're talking to the decision maker, most likely. And that's it. The rest would be called list stacking. At this point, after you do part one or 1, 2, 3, and 4, you could stop and you have 521 properties. This is great for marketing, enough properties. I always go by the 10% rule. This is my thing where, if you call 521 properties, 52 of them are going to answer. 5 of them will probably go further into that conversation with you, right? It's
That's a
the
good rule. That
10%
you
rule.
said the 5% rule.
It's
Is
the
that
10% rule. Yeah, I always go by 10%.
Oh,
So
10%. The 10%
yeah.
rule. You get
Mhm.
you get a you get 1,000. You think 100 will answer.
100 will answer, and then 10 of them will actually conversate with you and further into that conversation. So, and it's not just and I mean, that's something I just naturally see, in life. I always go
Yeah.
by that 10% rule,
You
right?
ask
So,
100 girls out, only 10 will respond, and maybe one will go out with you.
bro, that's probably where I got it from. It was all the failed attempts at the bar, right?
Hey, for
Go
all
to
of
the
us.
gym 10 times, you might see one day where you look good, right? There
Yeah,
you go.
there you go. Like, that's a good rule.
10% rule. So the 10% rule is that, and again, this is a good enough list. If you wanted to add more, it's what we call list stacking. You can go back in the filter. We do have some other categories, like you can add a pre-foreclosure, foreclosure to the search. So, how many of these 521 tax delinquencies are also in a default as well, right? Now, be careful. List stacking could mean you're getting very specific, and ask yourself, how many people do we know are delinquent and in pre-foreclosure at the same time? Not too many,
Yeah.
right? I know more people that miss their tax payment than I know people that are in a delinquency in a pre-foreclosure. So therefore, we're going to see more people delinquent versus delinquent in pre-foreclosure, as you
Let me
see
ask
here.
you let me ask you a question about the tax delinquent. So, does
Yep.
that mean like their mortgage payment, their taxes aren't included in their monthly payment? They're just not paying it? Like what does tax delinquent mean?
So
Um,
the tax delinquency means that they didn't pay their property taxes on time.
okay.
Yeah.
But most people now, don't they have that included in their mortgage payment, like in escrow or
Usually, yeah, because usually the mortgage is PITI, right? Your payment, your
yeah,
interest, your
so
tax, and your interest. But yeah, or no, it's payment, insurance, tax, interest.
yeah,
But again, there could be seller carrybacks where the homeowner has a private note with the homeowner or with the
mm,
buyer. There's all
interesting.
different types of lender, but your traditional approach would be that the mortgage covers all the PITI.
Yeah, so that's probably honestly, I'm not sure if we actually hit that list, but that's probably a great list because there's probably something going on. There's got to be something happening. Like
Hey
if
man, if you're not paying your taxes on time, that's not something to mess with. Uncle Sam will find you, and I feel like Uncle Sam is really Liam Neeson because it's like I hear the voice. I will come and find you. You know what I mean?
he
Like,
will, man.
yeah, that's the reality of it. So you nailed it. Tax delinquency is not something to mess with. And in time, that delinquency can become a lien, a tax
Mhm.
lien, and then if you don't take care of that tax lien can cause a
Got it.
pre-foreclosure.
Okay, so
So.
tax delinquency is not a lien yet.
No, yeah, good. Oh, great. Yeah, so it's kind of like in chronological order, I would say it goes like again, depending on your market, but usually I miss my tax payment. And so you get that slap on the wrist. Hey, you missed your tax payment. Make the payment quickly,
Mhm.
right? If you ignore that, then you'll end up getting a tax lien, a property tax lien.
Mm,
So the city will file a tax lien on you. Yeah. And then if you don't take care of that lien, it could be like 6 months or a year or 3 years, the time frame that they give you to resolve that tax lien can cause a pre-foreclosure. So
got it.
delinquency, lien, pre-foreclosure is usually the order, and then foreclosure. Bank takes your property, or whoever buys the property at the auction at that point.
Love it.
All right.
Awesome.
So This is list stacking. Again, if you want to find your pre-foreclosures out of 5 properties, again, go by the 10% rule. Yeah. So that probably not something I would recommend. But if you are like, hey, I'm a lawyer and my expertise is delinquencies and pre-foreclosures, then there you go. Those are your 5, right? That again, each user is going to be different. We do have the lien bankruptcy divorce status section. So, hey, I'm not only looking for a delinquency, but how many of those delinquencies have turned into a lien already as well, right? So show me the ones with an active lien to go with that delinquency. And so 45 of them, right?
Hmm.
Now, we talked about it, right? Delinquency, lien, pre foreclosure. What if you don't want the liens yet? Maybe you want to suppress all those active liens. So I just want delinquency, no liens yet. Let's remove those 45 and we're down to 476, right? So again, where
Question
you
for
want
you
to
really
be at
quick.
on that time scale is up to you. What's up?
So for the divorce,
Mhm.
in Utah, I feel like you have to go get that from the county. You have to go get it from a divorce attorney. Is this people that have been divorced already, or they're getting divorced? Like, how does that divorce?
No, no, no. The divorce has been filed and it's
Oh,
registered and it's public now. So
okay,
yeah,
huh,
so
that's
that's a
awesome.
great
I
question.
didn't know you had that either.
Yeah, bankruptcies too. You can specify the lien like we talked about. Like I want a tax lien, I want an HOA lien because they didn't pay their HOA. Mechanical lien, they paid a contractor, but they hired a contractor but didn't pay the contractor. We even have like child support liens. So
Wow.
you pay your child support, they're going to get you.
So really
So
quick, so if you do a tax delinquency, but you also put a tax lien on there as well, so this is checking for people that have delinquency and they have a lien. The tax.
yeah, so
Oh,
that their delinquency pretty much went to that next stage. They went into tax lien. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, normally you don't even have to go there. I mean, you could just go straight into just liens. I just want to
Okay,
find
gotcha.
all the liens, right? Because again, lien means they're already there. So just find the liens active and make sure they're the tax ones. That's
Got
what
it.
I want. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to do delinquency and then add the tax liens later. You can just go straight to liens. But again,
Okay.
for those, how you do your search, we're gonna leave that up to you. But yeah, usually what I see here for the most part is I want a tax delinquency, but I don't want a lien yet. So I do see people suppress them
Got it.
because they know that there are a bunch of investors that only go after liens. So, hey, you know what? I'm gonna circumvent you. I'm gonna look for the delinquencies that are not liens yet, and I'm gonna plant that seed way over here, right? So if
Yeah,
the lien is right over here, then a delinquency must be right over here, and I'm gonna talk to them before you get to them, right? So
perfect.
that's the idea there. Last but certainly not least, after pre foreclosures, liens, and bankruptcy, divorce status filters that you could add to your search, mortgage information. So you can also say, hey, look, you didn't pay your taxes. You might have a lien now, and you have an open mortgage. So you still have to pay for that. That doesn't change one bit, right? So again, even having a mortgage with a lien or delinquency could be an added level of motivation. And so here we go, 217 homeowners that didn't pay their taxes on time and they have a mortgage they need to worry about every single month as well. So although you didn't pay your taxes, you still got to continue paying, right?
Mm.
So here we go. We're done. At that point, we can now hit close 217 out of the 190,000 that we started with in Salt Lake City. So here we would check these results off and go to add to lists. Got to make sure you're hitting add to lists. Oh, I am lagging pretty bad here a little bit. There you go. Add to lists and then create new. And we can call this the SLC tax delinquency. All right. And hit save. So that's the traditional search. If you're new or hey, I just heard about Propstream, I don't know what it does. This is exactly what we do very well in. Now, the last thing I want to share with you when it comes to the lead generation part, and this I hope resonates with you. So if you're a seasoned investor and you're like, man, I know all of that, Burton, what the heck did you show me that for? We wasted my time. Actually, I want to show you this. So whether you're new or seasoned, you're going to be in a very tough market. Lots of investors showing up, lack of inventory, right? It's oversaturated. Records are being postponed because of this pandemic and that pandemic.
Mhm.
No, I mean, there's always a situation out there that can be found. And that's what these 4 golden rules are.
Okay.
Start with the first 3. So I stole 2, 3, and 4, and I made it numbers 1, 2, and 3. Let me explain my theory on this, okay? You see, If Nathan's in Salt Lake City and I'm there with him, let's say I'm competing against Nathan, and Nathan's the biggest name in Salt Lake City. His face is all over the banners. I mean,
Mhm.
we see billboard signs everywhere.
TV
I mean,
commercials, I'm
yeah,
everywhere.
I'm getting his postcards as well. Like this guy is just killing it. And
Mhm.
I can't get past that, right? And I know for a fact he probably has people at the county grabbing those pre-foreclosure records before Propstream or you know what I mean? He just is fully in the network. But guess what? He's still doing it the traditional way because he's been doing this for a long time that he doesn't understand that there's a new way to search. It's called the four golden
Okay.
rules. So here's how it goes. Whatever the situation is, make sure it's off market, right? So before you go into the filter and before you choose a list, because in my perspective, the moment you choose a list, you've already limited yourself. That's just my opinion. So before you do any of that, got to make sure it's off market, right? Because I don't care if it's a divorce, I don't care if it's a bankruptcy, I don't care if it's a pre-foreclosure. I mean, whatever it is, it needs to be off market. So there we go. Let me go into MLS status. And first thing again, we're going to need to do is make sure this is off market. Boom. Second,
I had no
whatever the
idea you had to
scenario is,
differentiate. I had no idea you had to turn that off. I might have been pulling some MLS stuff. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. You don't, I mean, unless you want to deal with an agent, but yeah, definitely want to make sure you remove that. Second, got to make sure it has equity, right? Again, no matter what the scenario is, if you're going to wholesale it, got to have equity. So it could be a pre foreclosure, it could be elite, doesn't matter. It needs to have equity. So we go into valuation info, equity info, and we say, hey, it needs to have 70% or more in equity, bro. All right, now property and owner characteristics. Again, no matter what the scenario is, it needs to be off market with equity. And I only deal single family properties built in 1990 or before. So let's go ahead and put that. Property characteristics. We're going to make sure it's single family, built before 1999, or again, whatever your preferences are. So residential, single family, let's say again, 5 bedrooms or less, and then built before maybe 2000. So there's 22 years of age on that property. And the second part to that is the property, the owner characteristics. So I don't care what the scenario is that they're going through, whether it's a lien, a pre the owners need to be at that house because I want to knock on the door today or this weekend. And if I do send a postcard, I want them at that location. Ownership info. I don't want someone that just bought a house last week, right? I want a
Mm.
house that's been owned for 10 years or more. And no matter what the situation is, I want to talk to an individual. So, owner type, individual. So, these are the 3 out of the 4 golden rules. Again, you do this long enough, you start realizing, like, dude, no matter what the list is, I got to do these 3 no matter what, right? So, why don't you do that first
That's
and
huge.
then create a situation?
Yeah,
Notice
because I
how I
mean,
didn't say,
that
oh,
was
go ahead,
good.
Nathan. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that's awesome because I feel like most people, like you said, will go to the filters and they're good, but you just broke it down on how to really get it granular.
Yeah, and I think again, when you pick a list, you are limiting yourself, right? Because a list could have 10,000 records, and that city could have 200,000 properties. So you already limited yourself by taking out 190,000 records, right? Because you went to a list. And again, there's nothing wrong with that because that's what we had to do before all this technology. Now that we have this technology, all this data just sitting there and can be manipulated, it actually allows you to create situations
Mhm.
rather than a list. I didn't say list, I said situation. So here, let me give you a few, right?
Yeah.
Here's a situation that I know every single day these homeowners walk into a realtor's office and say, I need to upgrade. You know what that situation is? It's a
No, what is it?
property that has 3 bedrooms or more, but 1 bathroom
Mm,
and has been owned for more than 10 years. You know why? Because when they bought that property 10 years ago, their family was really small. Their kids were 2, 3 years old, right? Why would you buy a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom property? Why would you buy a 3 bedroom first and foremost? Because you have kids. It's a big
yeah,
family. Mom, dad, one room, brother, sister, the next room. But why 1 bathroom? Because you don't need a second bathroom, right?
yeah.
Or maybe you didn't have the luxury, the financial luxury at that time, right? But 10 years have gone by. You've earned equity. Your kids have grown up. Now's the time to get that second bathroom in your master bedroom. This right here is a situation. And again, these are homeowners that walk into realtors' offices every day and say, yep, I think it's time for us to upgrade. And
Hmm.
just to prove my point, let me go in the filter really quick and let's ask ourselves this. How many of these 2,100 individuals that have been, sharing one bathroom, which is a headache already, how many of them are on a lien list? Because Nathan's pulling liens all the time. How many
Mhm.
of these guys that are on a lien list that also have to deal with one bathroom? Only 70 of them.
Wow.
That's it. So what you're telling me is that these other thousands, 1,200, 2,000 properties don't want to sell because they're not on a lien list? Got to be kidding me if that's the case, right? That is not how
Mm.
this works, right? So take full advantage of building situations. Let me give you a few more ideas to spark your imagination. Other than, sharing one bathroom being a situation, here's another one. We'll use current events. So 2020, March, pandemic hit. A lot of people lost their jobs, right? Let's use that as a scenario. So instead of looking for anybody that's owned the property for 10 years, why don't we look for someone who's bought a property, who bought the property in 2019, a
Okay.
year before the pandemic? My buddy likes to call this the regret list. I regret buying a house a year before the pandemic. I should have waited, right?
Mhm.
Now, again, not that may not be the case for everybody, but out of curiosity, how many people in Salt Lake City bought in 2019? There's 644 of them. Let's make matters even a little bit tougher for them. How many of them? How many of those 644 that bought in 2019 bought with a mortgage? Because if
Mhm.
you lost your job or you're renting it out and your tenant lost their job, you still got to pay that mortgage.
Got it.
308 of them right here. 308 property owners that bought a house in 2019 with an open mortgage. Unless they had a crystal ball and they knew what was going to happen, then they're good to go. But how many of these guys are in forbearance right now? How many of these guys had to
Yeah.
deal with a whole year of tenants not paying for them? How many of them lost their job? Right?
So you can check out of all these that bought in 2019, how many of those were absentee owners that bought a rental?
You just need to hit absentee owner right here. So if I wanted to see, hey, who in 2019 bought a property and let me see the absentee owners, there you go. There are your absentee owners, and we don't have anybody on that area. So it looks like
No
every
one's
one of them.
regretting that in
Yeah, it
Utah.
looks like well, Utah again. I haven't seen Utah take struggling too often.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
yeah,
it's pretty good here.
you guys are like Texas, man. Like, Texas
Yeah,
wasn't really impacted. I mean, Texas prices kept going this way during the pandemic.
the
So
prices here unreal.
yeah. So in this scenario, no, every property that we have in our database, it looks like every one of them is currently owner occupied. Now, again, if I tweak up some filters, like if I remove the 2000 or earlier, I'm sure there might be
Yeah, yeah.
some non-owner occupied ones. So if I remove the 2000, because I mean, I'm sure a landlord would most likely want to rent a more recent property. So just tweak some filters here, and you might be able to get some more filters. So.
For sure. I get it.
All right. So situations. Let's use one more current event and then we'll move on to the next thing. The next current event we've been hearing about interest rates, interest rates, interest rates, right? Increasing interest rates.
They're getting
That's
up
a
there right now.
situation. Exactly. That's a situation. So here, let me show you a cool trick. Remember at the very beginning, we talked about the mortgage filters being added.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look for an off market property owned by an individual, maybe owned for 8 years or more. And that individual not only has an open mortgage, but it's an adjustable rate mortgage.
Oh,
Boom. That's a big one right now. And again, in your market, you guys have a pretty high valued market, right? Your
who's
three
getting
three bedroom
adjustable rate
properties are
mortgages?
600.
That's crazy. Who's doing that these days?
Exactly. Hey, they're saying that the feds are going to increase the interest rates by 1%.
Oh
So
my.
1% of $600,000 is $6,000.
Yeah.
And you break that up into a year, that's $600 extra a month you're going to need to come up with on that mortgage if
Ooh,
it's an adjustable rate mortgage.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't. If you told me, "Hey, Burton, your mortgage is going to be $600 more this year every month," wow, right? And with
Boom.
gas prices going up, inflation going up, I mean, what extra money do you have to come up with this stuff? That's just my opinion, right?
That's scary. I mean, especially if you're renting it out, right? And you're cash flowing maybe like $300 a month and then it shoots up.
Boom, yeah,
You're
that's
not
going to
cash
hurt
flowing
you pretty
anymore.
bad. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is something to not dismiss, and this concludes again the traditional and four golden rules, and this is why we excel so well. I just don't think people realize this yet. We've been kind of taking things from what I like to say a kind of a we a funnel approach, just like an oil funnel. That you start with a lot of records, but the moment you pick a list, you dwindle it down. This is kind of the opposite, where you start off market, equity, property characteristics, and then that situation can open up to anything, right? So it's like the funnel's upside down almost, where
Yeah.
you have more results by creating situations than you do when you're taking a list and narrowing it down, right? So that's just the idea that I wanted to bring across to you guys. But that's it when it comes to lead generation,
That's dude,
Nathan. I think we've exhausted that topic, but
you
um,
did an amazing job. I got some people have some questions. Is it okay?
sure, yeah, of course, let's go for it.
So one guy asked, how are you advising to comp non-disclosure states that have had some issues with props data? That's what they said. Let me just put it on there.
Oh, great question. So let's kind of give some background to that question first. So starting in 2016, Propstream did something unprecedented. We found a unique source that gave us access to MLS data nationwide. And what that data meant, and I can only show you three of the five right now, but the data that I'm referring to were these statuses right here. And we still have three of the five, but the five were active, contingent, pending, failed listings, and sold listings. Now, let me explain MLS really quick for those that don't know. MLS is a database that realtors and brokers have access to in your market. And there's not one MLS board nationwide. There's about nearly 1,000 of them. So
I wish there was, right? That'd be way better.
I wish, yeah. Every market has their own MLS, and every MLS is run and operated by a brokerage that has their own policies and procedures. Now, one common policy that each and every one of them share is you cannot redistribute that data. So if you're an agent and you have access to MLS and you take that data and give it to someone else, you've lost your license, right? You've lost your permission to that. What Propstream did in 2016 was we figured out a way to give you that information. So that was mind blowing because you
Right.
didn't have to go to course, you didn't have to take real estate courses, you didn't have to take the state exam, you didn't have to do any real estate transaction to get MLS data. We gave it to you, right? So we ran with that. And then on January of this year, the MLS boards, again, it's always been a thing. They finally put their foot down. They said, "Hey, stop."
Oh.
And here's the confusing part, at least for me. They only took failed and sold listings away. I don't know why, right?
Hmm.
Now, I'm thankful. Where there's a loss, we usually want to, kind of resonate on the losses more. But I am blessed that they didn't take everything away. Because think
Right.
about this for a second. If they took away everything, the active and contingent and pending listings, every list you build, you would never know what was on or off market. So you would be doubling up on your marketing quite a bit. Does that make sense?
Do you
Right?
foresee them doing that at all, or do you think they'll leave it with the active and the contingent and the pending?
Brother, I don't know what these MLS boards. I mean, and we can speculate day and
Yeah,
night. Like
yeah.
I know personally, I've been speculating as to why like they remove failed and sold listings. So this
Mhm.
is my opinion. Like failed listing makes sense. Like failed listing is not a success story for an agent, right? You don't see brokerages at the end of every week get together and say, "Hey Nathan, how many failed listings did you have this month?" Right? Like that's not something to even talk about. It's a taboo in
Okay.
most of these offices. But what was happening? That information was going into the hands of investors like you guys. And you guys were closing deals that they could not close. So do you think that makes that brokerage look good?
Yeah,
Mm-mm,
agreed.
does
I mean,
not.
we've done deals from failed listings.
It's a great lead source. It
Yeah.
really is. And so I believe, again, it's speculation, that they found out, like they got wind of it. They probably, hey, why are these people closing our deals that we couldn't close? And so, these third party applications that have our data are doing it. And so I believe that's one of the reasons why failed was taken away. Sold, I do not understand. That I
Yeah.
do not understand at all. Like, why did you take the sold listings? Now, I will be honest. I think it has to do with that. The question, or the originator of the question was, it
Yeah.
was the non-disclosure. So for the longest, non-disclosure states, you're never going to get that sell price. So just to show you, for those that don't know what non-disclosure state is, Texas is one of them. Actually, Utah is another one too.
Utah,
But
yeah. There's like 8 or 9.
there's a total of 12. And so
Oh,
what it means really is that you're not going to get the sell price. The county will not display the sell price at all. So when a house sells either, on market or privately in cash, when the county registers that property or that sale, you're not going to get that price point. So like these cash buyer transactions in Texas, 0.000000000, because that's a law. The law
Mm,
is we're not sharing you the sell price. So what we did in 2016, get that MLS data and give it to our users for $97 a month.
yeah,
Mind blowing.
that was
Because
awesome.
now, again, I don't have to be a realtor. I don't have to go to school. I don't have to do any transactions. I can now get that data and run comps off of it. And again, that was taken away from us. I don't know why, but if I were to speculate, they want to be involved with these transactions. They
Yeah,
know you need that number, right? If I'm in a brokerage in Texas, knowing that's a non disclosure, knowing that we're the only ones with sell prices, and knowing that you need that, and all of a sudden I found out these third parties were providing that information. Yeah, let's get together, guys, as a MLS or so as a union, if that's the better word, right? Because there's like dozens of MLS boards in MLS, but dozens nationwide, hundreds of nationwide. I think they finally got together and said, we need to put an end to this because
yeah,
we're no longer being part of these transactions. We're
that
losing,
makes that makes
right?
sense.
Again, that's my speculation.
That's that
So
that answers the question very well. Yeah,
well, again, I there could be other reasons to it, but to me, that's the speculation. The reality is, it's always been a policy, though, right? So they could have said it in 2017, stop doing that. They could have said in 2018, stop doing it. As to why they waited this year, we don't know why. Again, if I could speculate, look how many people are here. This
yeah,
industry has grown quite a bit, and I feel like agents are starting to realize that they might be kind of left behind, right?
for sure.
My opinion. So this
That
is a
makes
chess
sense.
play. To me, it's a chess move. You guys aren't using this anymore. Bet, right?
A
You're
slap
going to be
on the
using this
wrist. We're gonna
now.
stop you. Yeah,
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly. So that's my speculation. So how does this impact users in those non-disclosure state? I'm a visual learner. So I had to create a graph for you because there were people,
Yeah,
unfortunately, bad actors out there that were spreading some misinformation. One of them was Propstream can't do comps anymore. And that's just not
yeah.
entirely true. So
Nah, not at all.
I'm a visual learner and I'd love to show you guys how this works. Okay. So here's the difference between the two right now. As of January 2022, PropStream no longer has MLS data. Now we're working diligently to get that back through other means. It's
Mm,
hard. They're not making it any easier, but hopefully this will be a thing of the past in the very future. But
okay,
for
cool.
now, this is what you're going to need to work with. Okay. So come on, my picture. Let's throw up. There we go. How to comp properties, disclosure states versus non disclosure states. So let me zoom out just a little bit here. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about disclosure states. There's 38 of them: California, Florida, all the ones that are not non-disclosure. How do you comp in those states? You do these steps right here, right? So step one, go to the property's details. So let's do that in PropStream really quick. So I'm gonna pull up PropStream and we're gonna comp a property, right? Let's do a disclosure state so you guys can see the before, the difference between the two. So North Carolina, that's a disclosure state. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna grab a random property and then we're going to go ahead and comp that property. Now, the first thing I want to explain, get out of your head that comping is just getting a number, because comping is not just getting a number. Comping
Mm,
is a art. Comping, in my opinion, this
or,
is
yeah,
my opinion, comping is justifying your offer to the homeowner because they're always going to ask for full price, and you need to explain to them why you're not going to give them full price unless it's deserved for full price, right? So, comping. Way you do it is once you're in a market, you're going to pull that property, just like in step one. You're going to pull up the details. Step two, you're going to go into the comparables and nearby listings. So once the property pulls up and you're in the details, again, comping isn't just, hi, thanks for calling. How does $100,000 sound? That's not how it works. This is comping for you. Pick up the phone. Hi, can I get your address? Thank you for that address. Oh, what's going on, Aaron? What's going on, Adrian? Is Adrian there, by the way? I see that there's two people on the title. I need to talk to both of you guys before I make my offer, right? Oh, I
Arian
see
and
your house was
Adrian. That's
I hear
crazy.
your house was built in 2015, it's 7 years old. When's the last time you did this, did that, right? So comping is understanding the condition of the property, right? Understanding the situation. Oh, I see you guys are up for a lien. What's going on? You guys owe taxes? Should you guys take care of that? Are you on a payment plan? Blah, 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 blah. Because if they still owe that much money, that's going to impact your offer. You're going to need to make sure that's part of your offer, right? So details is part of comping. Knowing the situation is part of comping. Knowing they have a mortgage is part of comping, right? So knowing that, oh, you have a mortgage of 396, I can't offer you a quarter million. You're going to say no to me. I got to
Mhm.
offer you about $400,000 plus that lien that you owe, right? So we're past 400 now. But before I even offer you 420, 430, I need to know what your house could sell for. And that's comparable. So I just wanted those to understand that comping is not getting just a value. You need to have all this information because you're going to be in this negotiation phase. So you go to the property details, you use that to negotiate. Then you go into comparables and nearby listings. And you're doing this in both states, disclosure, non disclosure, right? Third step, you're going to go to the subject property, you're going to apply the subject property's characteristics. So when you're in the comp section, you're going to go to the comparables. That's the one I recommend. And you're going to apply the beds and bathrooms. So if it's a 3-bedroom, put your 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, put your 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Year built, square footage, sold statuses. So sold status, what we're referring to is public records. Okay, we
Mhm.
no longer have MLS sold data. Now, if you're in a disclosure state, again, this is North Carolina, you get the actual sale prices. So I do not need to have MLS in a disclosure state. Now, let me say this really quick.
Yeah.
There were some benefits to having an MLS data in disclosure states. And I'll tell you what that benefit was. Most counties take about 3 to 4 weeks to record a sale. So if I sell a house on January 1st, it might get recorded on January 21st at the end of the month, right? If that property sold through an agent, if it's sold through an agent on the market, I get to see it before the county does if I have MLS data, right? So if an agent sold that property on January 1st, the agent's going to run back to their office and put on their MLS, we sold it for $500,000. And then all that paperwork goes to the county.
Got it.
If I have access to MLS, I'm going to see that.
Mhm.
So I'll be able to see a sale a week or 2, 3 weeks before the county.
Speed.
But comping is not about getting comps in 3 weeks, right? Comping has always been about getting a time frame of comps. It could be 6 months, it could be a year back. So I'm not going to say, disclosure states, didn't have a lot. They had a slight loss. And that was, again, not seeing something that sold a week ago or 2 weeks ago. You have to now
Right.
wait for the county
Yeah.
to record it, right? Now, in my mind, where could that have been beneficial? I think in a negotiation phase, it could be beneficial. Like if I
Mhm.
know a month ago a house sold for $300,000 and then I have an MLS comp from last week and it sold for 280, I'm going to use that as a negotiation. I'm like, Mr. Homeowner, look, these houses are starting to go down now in value, right?
Right.
So that could have been good, but it wouldn't have been a make it or break situation, right? The opposite. How could having a sell last week be beneficial with your buyers? Mr. Buyer, check this out. Houses were selling $300,000 in the month of February. There was this house that sold last week with the same characteristics. It sold for 310. Get this contract now.
Hmm.
You see how that could have been? We don't have that anymore. So
Yeah.
disclosure states, you don't have that luxury of negotiating on something that sold recently, but we still have the sell price. So I can
Right.
choose in this case numbers 1, number 2, and number 6, and then run that comps report. So number 1, number 3, number 6. And after I select those, I'm going to sold comps have been selected. Again, you get public record sell prices, print your report. So now, once I have those selected, I'm going to go to actions right over here and I'm going to generate my report. So I'm going to go to actions and then print out that report and I'm done. Again, the prices that are on this report are actual prices that are disclosed. Non-disclosure. So while that's generating, non-disclosure, you're doing the same thing. Nothing's changing. The only part that's going to be a challenge, I would say, is that you don't have the sell prices. You have estimated prices. So you got to go get that sell price. Either you got to be the realtor or go get it. But don't go to a realtor and say, comp this property for me. You got to do homework. Okay. So we can still help you up to, as you can see, 95% of the way. So let me explain what I mean by that. So if I were to pull a property in Texas or Salt Lake City, like we were just in,
Mhm.
and I have a lead there. So I'm going to pull up a property in Austin, Texas really quick. So we go here. I'm just going to grab a lien. So again, this is a non-disclosure state. And yes, I get that Propstream's MLS data is not there, but Propstream can still help
Can I
you
give
with
you an address real
comping.
quick?
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
This is one I made an offer on today, and I know what they RV or what I feel like it's worth. But maybe I can just give it to you, and
Sure.
we'll see see what it does. Okay, so you ready for the address? It is 1379 East, 1379 East, and then 8555 South.
855 South.
Yeah, 8555, so 3 5s South. And then that's it's Sandy, Utah.
Sandy, Utah.
Yes. Sandy. Oh, sorry. So you got South and then space Sandy, Utah.
South. Okay.
Yeah, so let's see. Looks like it's loading.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, you had it.
All right, let's pull this one up.
Yeah, I'm curious because I didn't know about the action button. I just looked and compared, but I didn't know the action button. You could pick the 3. That's sweet.
Yeah, and well, while we're pulling up the properties details, that action button, if you actually hit view comps report, it will generate this. And this to me is really what comping is about. It's being able to explain to the homeowner not just your price, but their property, which is on the first page. So Aaron and Adrian, hey, here's your property, here's your, bathrooms and bedrooms. Here's my search criteria for the comps I just ran on your property. Based on the comps I found, here's the low value, the high value, and the average value. Now they're probably going to say, well, I want 650 for my house. And I can say, well, the square footage is much bigger than your house. So you can't get that price. So you see, comping is not arguing, it's educating. Trust me, you're going to lose leads if you argue.
That's
So
what I love about this. It's like if you're more transparent to the seller and just show them data, you can get a good deal. You don't have to just make low ball offers and just hope someone's dumb enough to accept it.
exactly. And not only that, you get to show them the values, but we get to show them where their house is compared to those comps. So, hey, your house is right here. That comp I pulled was right next to you. There's one right there. And then we also show them the sources. So I pulled 2 comps and pictures. To me, those are very, very important. We'll show them any pictures that we have of those comps as well, because that's part of the negotiation phase. When they're like, well, I want what that house sold for. Well, that's what this house looks like on the inside. And you told me about the leak in your house. You told me the floors are falling apart. You told me the kitchen needs to be done. I can't give you $500,000, but I can give you 350, right? So this is the report that came out from North Carolina. It has the pictures. It has the details of those comps. The cool thing is it also has the price point for this property in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is a non-disclosure state. So how do we run comps on something that's not? You're still going to need the properties that sold recently. You're going to still need to know their characteristics. You just don't have that price. So use this up to 90%. Go to the properties details. Boom, here it is. Going into the details. Again, you're going to have that conversation with the homeowner. Hey, what's going on, Mr. Homeowner? I'm looking at your property's year built, and I see that, it's 50 years old, whatever it may be. Ask questions. Oh, I see your, yeah, wow, 70 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Kelly, Jessica, I see you own the property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I see you have a mortgage. Great. Still interested in selling? Well, let me make an offer on your property. I'm going to go into the comparables and nearby listings, and we even warn you. We say, hey, look, in public record, sell prices are estimated due to non-disclosure state laws. We do warn you that the values you're about to see in a few seconds are all estimated value. And this is where we become extremely transparent. We actually put estimated values on there.
That's awesome.
When this happened in January 2022, this affected all third-party platforms. However, there were a few platforms out there that were telling you guys otherwise. They were saying that they still had it. Just double check. That's my only opinion, is if you're ever using a third-party platform and you're in a non-disclosure state, don't take their word on the prices. Nobody has those sell prices. Now, could they have a buddy that might be working in a neighborhood that gives them that information quietly? Yeah, absolutely, right? But no third party has this data anymore. So whatever they label it, whether they label it amount like we do or sell price like some of these other guys, just be extremely careful if it's a third-party platform and you're in a non-disclosure state. Again, this is why we flat out tell you guys this, because we're not trying to get you guys in trouble. The last thing you want to do is try to go get a hard money loan with estimated values and then get that loan not approved. We don't
Right.
want to do that, right? So non-disclosure state, all estimated values, but Propstream can still help me out. You know why? Because they have the addresses, they have pictures, they have the date in which they sold, they even have the characteristics of the properties, right? So let's use all of that. The only thing I'm going to be missing is just the price. So I'm going to go over here, find me all the 3-bedroom properties, all the 1-bedroom, right? Maybe look for 2 bedrooms, because we might be able to put it. This is a 3-1, like we talked about. We might want to put a 2-bedroom in there, right? Or bathroom in there. So let me look for the 1 bathrooms and the 2 bathrooms
Yeah,
as
he's
well, just
adding
so I
it
can.
too. They're adding it too right
There you
now.
go, right? And if it's not a 2 yet, but they want these 2-bathroom prices, I could say, whoa, time out. Here are the 2-bathroom prices, but yours is still a 1. Here's the one
Right, yeah.
bathroom price,
I gotta do
right?
all
So
that work to it. Yeah.
exactly. Year built, so we know it was built in 1956. So maybe you want something built before 1980, because materials after 1980 can dramatically change, right? No more asbestos, no more popcorn ceilings or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like,
for
that's the
sure.
reality. Tighten up the square footage. Now we usually give you a 20% difference, plus or minus, but if you know that square footage is 1,500, then hey, you know what? Do 1,300 to 1,700 if you want.
Mhm.
Status. By default, it's sold, but we still have active. So if you want to see, what an active listing price is, great. Now I'm going to reiterate this. An active listing price is not a sold price. It's just an active price. But don't dismiss it. I know a lot of people say, oh, you can't run comps using active prices. You can't. 100% you can't. But remember, an agent doesn't just randomly pick an active price, right? An agent is running comps and then comes up with an active price, right? So think of this, if you can carry along with me, right? An active listing price is an agent's comp price. So they did some homework and then they came up with that listing price. Let's say 400,000, right?
Right.
If I find 6 active listings, all with the same characteristics, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, certain square footage, and first listing is 400, second listing is 390, third listing is 410, the fourth listing is 405. They don't need to sell for me to get an idea of where the property prices are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Right?
does.
Because agents are doing the work for us. They're already doing the comping, and that listing price is the end result of that homework. So if I get 5 listings, I can use that to negotiate. I could say, look, Mr. Homeowner, I don't have the sell prices because I don't have access to that in your market, but I have 5 active listings right now. And looking at the photos, they're all renovated and they're all listed for 400,000.
Mhm.
Yours is not renovated. And based on the condition I'm seeing, yours is about 70% of that. So I'll give you 70% of 400,000. How's that sound?
Yeah,
Right.
agreed. So yeah, you're using the sell,
The
the
listing data.
active, the listing
Yeah,
data.
it's again, comping. Again, I know that getting a price is important, but remember, comping is a negotiation stage. So yeah, you can have the price point, and you're going to need that. I'm going to agree with that. Getting a price point is very important, but active listings can help you negotiate. So there are investors I know personally that don't even use comps. They use active listings to negotiate, and
Right.
I
Right.
love that idea. Again, I don't recommend it if you're trying to get a loan or anything, but again, homeowners, when they see an active listing fully renovated and they see, oh, it's listed for $500 million, what do we know right now? Things that are listed for whatever they are going to sell for more. So that
Sure.
active listing could be the base value. You could warn the homeowner, hey, these are what they are now, but right now they're selling for a lot more.
So is that active pending data pretty accurate, like for Salt Lake? Like if we were to take away the filters, take away the filters, because
So
I
I don't
actually
think we
was
have
looking at
any in this market right here. So in this area right here. So let me go out a mile and just look for active listings,
t-
and let's see if we can pull
actually
one.
take away, because I know what's active right now because I just looked, and pending today.
Yeah.
Can you take away the filters on that you've put and just put it back to half a mile?
Oh, so just sold.
No, that active and pending, because I want to see
Oh, so our system doesn't have that data. So you might have actually the
okay,
MLS access. So right
right.
now in our database, around a half a mile active. Let me check these other 3. I don't have anything. So unless you have something that we haven't captured yet, I don't have any results in this area. At
No,
least
totally
in a half a
fine.
mile.
Here, take the square footage to 2,000. Just curious.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. That might be your limiting reason there. So I'm removing that. Yeah, I still don't have any results with that
Okay.
removed. All right, let
So
me.
this doesn't really go to wait, hold on. Active MLS 6 days. Look at it pulled up the one I'm talking about that we're looking at. It was just there. Right there. 1379.
Oh, that's the address we're on now.
Oh, that's okay. But it
Yeah,
does
so
say
that one, yeah, that one does
MLS
have MLS
active.
details, so we can see the listing price right now on that one.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
but in the comparable section, other properties around this one, and there aren't any active comps around this one, at least in our database right now.
So
So
this is
that's
pulling
that's what I'm talking about.
pretty good, like the data that's on MLS right now, like the
So
active.
was this
Active
listing
stuff.
price the listing price that you have for that property as well?
Yep, that's
Or
it. That's yeah.
yeah,
It's
so again, this house might sell for like 520 because of what's happening right now. But
I
all
made an
I'm saying is
offer.
John
I made.
Armstrong right here,
Mhm.
he did some comps for us and he came up with 499. All I'm saying is that yeah, I wouldn't use 49 as a sell price, but I can use it as a negotiation tool. That's really
I
the
made an
point.
offer today at 455 cash, and they like it. They're like gonna run it by the office.
And you base that off that price right there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Bingo.
based it off of what I feel like the ARV could be because I feel like 499 is the as is, like the condition it's in right now.
Yeah, see, and that to me is great. You didn't have to pull out sell comps. You said, hey, I know 499, that's a good price, but it's not going to fly, right? Because you
Right.
know your market. But that's the point there. So thank you for highlighting that. So in non-disclosure states, you can still run comps, but you're just not going to have the sell price, right? But we still have the photos, we still have the characteristics, and so you're going to still need that. So the point here is when you call an agent and say, "Hey, agent, I need the sell prices because I'm not an I don't have access to the MLS." You can either go to the agent empty-handed, say, "Hey, here's a house. I need comps for it," or you can use us to help you with that homework. Right? Once you have your results here, use the photos to help you out. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just grab a few. I'm going to grab numbers 1, number 2, and number 3. I like the pictures, by the way. So again,
I, lo- I
pictures
love
are going to be
the.
important because you're going to be educating that homeowner who always is going to want full price no matter what. And if you can show them what full price looks like, then it's a better negotiation. So I grab the ones with pictures. That's my favorite. I go to actions and view comps report. And we're going to give you the same report as we saw on that Riley property in North Carolina. So because North Carolina is a disclosure state, I can actually just hand this to the homeowner and call it a day, right? We're good to go.
Mhm.
But with that non disclosure state, with this property in Utah, I can't do that, right? Because these prices, as you see, are estimated values. And while that's generating, for those that are wondering, well, how the hell do you know it's 505 estimated value? Like, where are you guys coming up with these estimated values? If you don't
Right.
know the sell price, then how do you know this? We know it because we collect mortgage data. See, mortgage data is not non-disclosed information. We know what loan amounts are in these non-disclosure states. And if you have enough information, you can do some reverse engineering. So how did we come up with 505 300? We came up with that because if we pull up this property that sold for 505, at least our calculations indicate it sold around 505. When I pull up the property, if it pulls up due to the lag, so give me a second here.
No problem.
And if there's any other questions that you think are revolving around the same topic, bring that up, Nathan. But
Let's
okay, here's that
see.
property. How do we know it sold around 505? Again, we're warning you it's an estimate, but how do we know?
Okay.
That right there. We know that this homeowner, Jacob and Anna Marie, they used a mortgage with Vertitas funding or Veritas funding. Now, the
Mhm.
loan amount they pulled was 404, but what do we know about loans? That there's usually a down payment first,
Oh
and then you
snap!
put a loan on the rest, right? So if we know the
Go.
loan amount and we know who the lender are, we know the date and we know the interest rate and the term, enough reverse engineering, and boom, we can give you an idea
Where
of
do you
what
see the
that.
down payment?
We don't know what the down payment, but we know what the loan type is. So like
Okay.
conventional is usually 17-20%. A VA
God.
would be like
Okay. Gotcha.
5%.
You go off of the percentage.
Exactly. We go after the loan type and the recording date. There's an index, Freddie Mae, Fannie Mac's index, right?
Mhm.
You can look at their index and you can go back to like 2008 September, and they'll tell you what the average interest rate was for certain types
Oh
of loans.
man,
I
you
mean,
guys cannot be stopped over here.
I'm telling you, man, and this is why I love doing this, is because I love educating people on how this works. That's why I frown upon when people say, "Oh, they don't have this," and they don't know anything about data.
Yeah, dude.
Stay in your lane, guys. Like that's just the reality of it. Because honestly, the reality is if you spread lies, what you're really
Yeah,
doing is hindering these investors from helping that homeowner. So if you
exactly.
thought, oh, Propstream can't help me with comps, how many homeowners did you not help because of that? Right. You
Yeah,
see
just
that? That's
stick
why I do
yeah,
not
stick
like
to cold
when
calling.
people spread false information. What they're really doing is hindering homeowners from being helped when they do that.
For
That's
sure.
why we say,
Hey,
hey, if you need answers, just come to us. We'll tell you exactly what you need to know. And we'll be honest. Well, straight, like I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get sell prices in non-disclosure state. But what you can
yeah,
do is you can use the other information, the address, the date that it sold, the pictures, the characteristics, and come up with the same report. So this is that
that's
house in
right.
Sandy, Utah.
That's awesome.
Kelly, Jessica, I want to buy your house. Here's your property characteristics. Let me explain to you about that, right? The only thing though are these right here. I got to take these off. I
Mhm.
just, get a whiteout, put a whiteout on it, or use a computer, blank them out. But Kelly and what's her face? Kelly and the owner here. I want to make sure I'm addressing them correctly. Kelly and Jessica, I'm
Mhm.
sure they're still going to want to know where those comps are that you pulled next to their house. So the map can be useful. Hey, you guys live here. Those comps are literally right next to you. Again, the values here will need to be replaced. So call the agent. This is what I mean. You don't just call an agent and say, hey, run this comp for me on this property. You now
Yeah,
can call the agent and say, hey, I have 4 addresses. Can you give me the price on?
that's
You might want to
awesome. Yeah,
compliment them
that
too. You
that
see how
that
that
yeah, they would honestly yeah, if you have them all lined up, you're like, "Hey, I have all the data. I just needed to verify the sale price, or
boom.
what it's sold
Now,
for."
prior to January 22, you didn't have to do that. Right. And that's the reality. Again, I wish January 22 never happened because our non disclosure states users wouldn't have to call an agent. They would just have the data from us. But it is something we can't change, right? It is a
I
fact,
do
and we got to work with
I
that.
also think sellers will be understanding if you're like, "Look, I'm not a real estate agent, but I pulled this data from this data source, and this is like what I'm seeing. Can we agree that it's around this price?" And even and do that. You don't need to. I wouldn't have to call an agent. I think I could get the seller to agree.
Exactly. And hey, you know how you can make them even agree more? The pictures. We've included pictures in your report.
Yeah, you
So you're
show them
telling
this thing,
me,
they're gonna be like, "This guy's serious." I mean, he's got a freaking
yeah,
PDF.
and
Come on.
pictures again, comping is not just about a price. Again, I get that we lost the prices for non and that does add one extra step, but you're telling me you're going to just not use this at all? You're not going to use this report and just replace it with the actual prices that you get from an agent?
Mhm.
That's again for me was upsetting is that we had some bad actors just spreading false information. And
Yeah.
man, I'm telling you right now, yes, this is a non-disclosure report. I just got to get these right prices. So I'll call the agent. Hey, can I get your price off 8,500? Once I get those 4 pieces of information, I put that on this report and I email this report to Jessica, right? And
Yeah.
Kelly, and we go from there. Now,
That's
as
awesome.
Nathan mentioned, he doesn't need to. He's so confident he doesn't even need to call the agent. He can have the owner agree to is this
Just have
around
a
the right price?
conversation, Jessica. Yeah.
Boom, there you go. So whoever asked that question, thank you for asking that question because I think you just educated not only yourself, but Nathan himself as well, and
Oh,
everybody else
yeah.
here that might have heard that same information. So the cat is out of the
Exactly.
bag, guys. We can
I
still
love it.
help
You did a
you
great job of answering that.
up to 90%. Again, the honest part is the steps are still the same: disclosure, non-disclosure. The only thing is that when you print that report, you do have estimated sell prices, which again, we didn't just come out of nowhere. We got it because of that mortgage data, some reverse engineering. But if you got to have that sell price, just speak to an agent or be the agent and then
Sure.
replace the pricing.
Can you send me that? I like that so I can when I'm teaching people how to comp using
Oh
Propstream.
yeah, bro. Absolutely. Anybody else that needs this, man, reach out to us and
Yeah,
I'd be
that'd be
happy to
huge.
send that to you so you can put it on your wall. And
Yeah, yeah.
this is not just us. This is for everybody. Anybody that's a third party application. So even if you don't want to use PropStream and you're using this other third party, they you should understand that disclosure, non-disclosure. And I'm a firm believer. I don't care if you're in a disclosure state right now, you should still understand non-disclosure state rules and regulation because you might be working on a California property, but what if that homeowner says, "Hey, my mom lives in Texas and she's thinking about selling her house." Ooh,
Right.
gotta know how to do that, right? So I'm a firm
Exactly.
believer. You're better off educating yourself now, so when it does happen, you're fully equipped, rather than not being prepared and potentially losing that home or that lead, or potentially for me, it's you're not going to be able to help that homeowner who really needs your help. They called you. If you can't deliver, that sucks, and that's just my opinion on that.
No, I agree. That's awesome. Thanks
And
for that
that's
awesome answer.
pretty much it, brother. I don't want to bore people to death, but these are the two main features. I did promise Nathan the last thing I'm going to leave you guys off with before I let you guys go is a lot of people don't even know we have this.
Hmm.
But, ladies and gentlemen, at no additional cost, you have the Propstream mobile app. I don't know why people are not using this as much as they should.
I got to get
But
mine out right now. I got to
yeah,
get
let me
that
show
phone
you
out.
what this is. It's the same, and we'll even do a side by side comparison. But you're going to pull up Propstream, as mobile app, and when you pull up our mobile app, the thing that you do right off the bat is you could search an address. So let's, for example, say the homeowner said, "Come over to the house this weekend." I could print all these reports, or I could just bring the mobile app with me, type in the address. So oh, let me log in first. I'm sorry. All right, so let me type in the address. So 1379 East, what was that? 855 South Sandy. There it is. I click on it and boom, I have the same data, but on the go now, right? So all the property details are here. Again, this is what separates our mobile app from most, is that we are under the impression that, hey, you might need to get down and visit that house eventually. So I have the property details here, property characteristics. I have the MLS details. So I have that listing price. So in this case, Nathan could have talked about that during the conversation at the house. Tax information, transaction history, open loans. And guess what? They might want an offer on the spot. So, boom, you have the comping section. So, you can run comps in this area and you can use public records, in this case, MLS records, the active ones. You can add filters to your comps. Again, comping is not just getting a price, it's educating. So, you can click on these pictures and show the homeowner what that comp looks like. So, when they're like, well, I want full price. Well, full price looks like this, Mr. Homeowner. I'd love to give you that, but I can't.
Hmm.
Right. So, having this data will back you up while you're on the field. So you have the property details, comps, opportunity. Nobody talks about this. You see an abandoned property, it's been abandoned for 2 years. Why? You know why? Because it has no equity. So we're able to show you equity as you go. This is something no one talks about when you're driving for dollars. Again, there's a reason that house might have been abandoned for 2 years. It's because no one can deal with it, right? So to be able to know, hey, this has equity, good. Now that it has equity, let me skip trace this person and call them, or let me send them a postcard and go from there if they're not there.
Oh my
Or let
God.
me purchase documents on this property. Or let me get directions to get to this property. Or let me share this with my team member or an external contact like a lender or a buyer or the seller themselves. So this is our mobile app. This is different than most out there. Starts with giving you the details. You can save properties on the go, which go into your favorites. And that also is connected to your My Properties page. So anything that's in your mobile favorites will also be sent into your My Properties page. There's actually a designated area for it called the mobile area. It's right over here. So these 198 properties are the same 198. So you could save all on the go and then do your research on the desktop version later on. And last, but certainly not least, because we know you're still going to go driving for dollars,
All
the
right.
middle feature is the drive feature. So you
Oh, you
click
got a
on
drive
that.
feature? Dang.
Yeah, so you click on that and we can record your drive on or off. And there's two ways to drive. There's just drive, where if you click on that and we start recording you, we put that location on you at the very bottom, your drive will start and boom, start driving. We'll record your route and you can tap on property. So if you can zoom out, let's say you drive over here, you can zoom in on a property and you can tap on a property or tap on an apartment complex if you wanted to. And then after you tap on that apartment complex, we'll give you the details. And then you can save that apartment complex if you wanted to. Right.
That
So
is
there's a
amazing.
lot that you can do. Now, granted, I'm not moving them. You shouldn't be moving a map like I'm doing because the map will move as you're driving. But the idea is that's what you're able to do, right? You can set your drive, do the recording, and at the very bottom, when you're done, you're going to hit end. Do you want to save your drive? Yes, no, maybe so, and call it a day. Now, for those that do use the drive feature, we do have a cool feature here. So for those that are love like door to door knocking, I know that's an old thing, but
Uh-huh.
still exists. Set filters in drive. That allows you to set filters around a radius, not a market, but a radius. So in this case, go 3 miles around my current location, find me all the owner occupied properties with a lien. I'm going to hit
Oh
apply,
my gosh, that
and
is
then
awesome.
Propstream will find those leads for me. Now, granted, again, this is more for someone who wants to talk face to face. If you're not a face to face guy, you could have just gone to our search page and do that on our desktop version. But if you're a face to face guy, then like me, you can pull up all the properties with a lien in a 3 mile radius,
And go knock them.
see where they're at on a map. That's correct. See where
Wow.
they're at on a map. You can even see the results before you go knock on them. And here's why I think it's very important that you understand the power behind data. Look at this example right here, number 7. If we look at number 7 for a second, and we just look at the photos that PropStream is going to show us, if you were driving for dollars in this neighborhood, do you think that would have qualified as a distressed property just by the
Not
look
at
of it?
all. Not at all. You
Not
wouldn't
at all.
even
You would
bother.
have driven right by it, right? But the reason why this property pulled up, let's go to the pictures really quick. The reason it pulled up is look at that little tab right there. It says lien details. That right there is why it pulled up. So although it looks great on the outside, these homeowners owe $2,800 to somebody. That can cause a
Ooh,
pre-foreclosure. That's
that.
a let me knock on your door and let's talk about that. Or let me send you a postcard, right?
It's
And
like,
let's talk about
wow,
that.
that is
So,
if you got a
ladies and
door
gentlemen,
knocking,
this is
this is huge. Yeah.
big, big. So driving for dollars, data on the go, so you can talk with confidence. Send them a comps report, all that good stuff, and then again the driving for dollars as well. So Nathan, man, thank you, brother. I'm sorry if I went a little bit beyond our time, but
Oh no, bro.
I
Everything you showed
appreciate
me,
you,
like
man.
I've been getting educated here. So I meant for the people that will see this and have been watching, I'm sure their minds have been blown. My mind's been blown. I mean, to be real, I didn't even have the app downloaded on my phone. I wasn't even using it. So this I got it downloaded. But I do have a question. REI Automator is something that I signed up for because Sean Terry, I think he white labeled PropStream. Is that what is the difference in REI Automator and PropStream? Is it the exact same thing or is there any
Oh yeah, that's the
differences?
exact same thing. It's powered by Propstream, so the data is still the same. For anybody thinking, oh, they probably get faster lead. No, 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 don't think that. REI Automator, again, as you mentioned, is Sean Terry. So yeah, we have a relationship with Sean Terry. He's one of our
Okay.
promoters, and so we have a white labeled version of his called REI Automator. And for those that want to know the difference, besides the coloring, besides the label, Sean Terry does provide an umbrella of resources that Nathan can contest to, right? So not only are you getting REI Automator, but you're getting a bunch of their resources as well, if that's for you, right? If
Right.
it's not for you, hey, we got PropStream with no other, that other resources. So that's really the difference. There is also one slight difference in the property details of REI Automator. They have this unique feature of theirs called the Automator feature. It's called the Automate feature.
Uh-huh.
The automate like what it does is it automatically calculates. So Sean Terry and our team work together to be able to have you just pick 3 comps of the lowest value
Mm-hmm.
and 3 comps of the highest value, and then it gives you what your ARV should be or your discount offer should be, your MAO, I
Interesting.
should say.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. There's just the thing is there's so much value that you guys are if you don't educate yourself or learn it, then you're missing out on a ton of the good stuff.
Yeah, we have like the rehab calculator as well with Blue Hammer in the property details. So if you're like,
Mhm.
if the homeowner's like, well, I got to do the kitchen, I got to do the bathroom, you can call a contractor, you can hit that rehab calculator in our property details and then punch in those values or kitchen, bathroom, and it'll give you a local level cost as well. So there's a lot of power behind PropStream. But again, I don't think we could cover everything in
No,
one giving
no,
sitting.
I think what we
Um,
should do is come back in about 6 months, a year, once I've grown the biz, grown at my business on both sides, the wholesaling and the coaching, and let's tackle this again. Let's educate ourselves again. What do you think?
I'm all for it, man. The more I can educate these users, anybody that wants to be in this space, the faster these homeowners are going to have their problem solved. And I'm the first to say we're not the only thing out there, but we do our best to try to solve as many problems that you have to go through, so you can solve that homeowner's problems as fast as possible. So yes, brother, the more the merrier. Let me know.
Let's get it. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. You've enlightened me. You've enlightened the people here. I got a bunch of questions, but we will let's it's already gone long enough. But hey man, again, I appreciate you and you've helped out a ton.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, if you have any questions, especially regarding your market or your area, discrepancies, complaints, compliments, we'd love to hear it. Please bring it. Don't keep it to yourself. Call us and let us know about your questions or complaints and concerns so that we can get better together.
That's the goal. Well, hey, you provided a lot of value today, so I appreciate you, and you have a good day. All right.
You as well, guys. Take care.
See you later.